John Fassel, the special teams coach for the Cowboys, is now available that the Cowboys staff is wiped out. Bones. Our boy Greg Papa is always interviewing Bones. So we already, Greg will be advocating for Bones. Kyle Shanahan's never intentionally called a fake. Mitch Wishnowsky ran one. It was not called. Bones Fassel is a very different type of special teams coordinator. He's very active. I think one of the problems that Dallas has had, specifically against the Niners, is they've gotten too cute on special teams. Reverses. They had one a couple years ago where they tried to leave the offense out on the field or the punt team. I don't remember which one it was. It was a 4th down play. They left the punt team out. The Niners didn't flinch. They left their defense, and the Cowboys so they just had to use timeout. They do weird stuff, but he's viewed by the metrics as one of the best special teams coaches. He found Brandon Aubrey, who was working at JP Morgan Chase or wherever the hell that guy was working, became a really good kicker. What do you think? Is this guy a fit?
Well, the first thing is, does Brandon Aubrey come with Bones Fassel? That would be the Kyle, I don't think. Is it a 2-for-1? Can you get the kicker?
Well, maybe you send a Moody for a 4th. They might. Would they do that deal again?
Probably not. But no, I think the 49ers should bring in Bones Fassel for an interview. I know they interviewed Jet Modkins, the son of former offensive coordinator of the Chip Kelly era Curtis Modkins. Jet Modkins with the Lions. I don't know a lot about Jet Modkins, but I will say the Lions do a lot of. Are we allowed to cuss on this, by the way?
What are you talking about? Are you new here?
The Lions do a lot of crazy shit on special teams and formations and different things, and they like to keep it weird. And so I like the fact that the 49ers at least are interviewing, and he's the assistant, Modkins, the assistant special teams coach with Detroit. So he would have the ability to accept a promotion from the 49ers to the special teams coordinator, and they could just take him away from the Lions. I don't know whether Modkins gets the job. I think Fassel's worth taking a look at, but I like the fact that both of those guys are aggressive and outside the box and a little weird with their setups. And the Lions obviously is not all Jet Modkins, but I think the 49ers need to I don't think they need to be faking punts every other game, but I do think they need to have somebody with that type of mentality in the room as Kyle Shanahan looks to refresh his rooms for, and his CEO head coach responsibilities. So I don't know. I kind of like the notion of.
Hey guys, quick break from JD to tell you that this video is brought to you by the sponsor Prize Picks, where right now you use the code GUY. You make a $5 lineup, you immediately get $50 into your account. Here's what I got going. If you're watching this before the Monday night playoff game, we're rooting for picks. I got Sam Darnold, more than half an interception. I got Matthew Stafford, more than half an interception. I got Puka Nacua, more than 11 targets. He's been Stafford's favorite target. They've been feeding him the ball since he came back from that PCL injury. He was on the IR. Throwing out week 1 when he got hurt. He's averaging over 10 targets a game. He had 8 against the Vikings. I'm going big the last time. I'm going big here. And then I'm going Jordan Addison, more than 4.5 receptions. The Rams are 26th in passing touchdowns allowed. He had 9 touchdowns on 9 targets this year. So I could see him getting the ball with all eyes on Justin Jefferson. Code GUY at Prize Picks. Now back to the video.
Bring in some more aggressive, if not a little eccentric in terms of their football special teams acumen minds for some interviews and see if you can't go that. Now, look, you need the buttoned up stuff also. Like, you can get cute, and we can talk about whether it's how cute you should get when and all that. And Kyle's been on record saying he doesn't want cute, but if you've got the other buttoned up stuff handled, then why not? You immediately are more of a threat to do something weird if you go the Lions route or the Bones Fassel route. And I think that in and of itself just gives the opposition another thing or two to prepare for on a week in, week out basis. So I kind of like it. And then the other part is, if you're going to go get Bones Fassel, Mitch Wishnowsky better learn how to throw a pass. And none of this just, you're not like, you're going to just run. Like, Wishnowsky better be working on his arm strength here between now and next season.
No, he just likes to run it. It reminds me, because it would be a really unique, it would do a couple things if you were to hire John Fassel. It would be a signal that Kyle Shanahan is going out of his comfort zone to fix what is clearly a problem, because he's had 2 different special teams coordinators. And, the problem, you change the rug twice and the stink is still in the house. Maybe it's not the rug, right? So that would be the first thing. I think it would be a strong signal for it to work. And this is me talking. This is not like what Kyle Shanahan would say this too, but I think the Cowboys get a little too loosey-goosey. But that's a McCarthy trait.
Yep.
Kyle's not loosey-goosey.
Well, it is a Fassel trait.
Right.
And McCarthy would let him.
It's a bad combination. So the question is, could they find the balance where Kyle says, we're not doing the loosey-goosey stuff here, but we are going to do the stuff. Let's just start with the solid button-down stuff. There's always a show. I watched one a couple years ago. I don't remember on what service, Netflix or one of those, where there's like a guy there's like a kidnapping. There's like the crimes. And in order to solve the crimes, I think there's one right now with Mark Paul Gosselaar on too, where there's in order to solve the crime, it's like Hannibal Lecter, basically. The detective has to go into the prison and talk to like the genius, because only the genius criminal knows how the serial killer who's out there right now thinks. Right,
it's a good template.
So it's actually a really good template for a show. But it's kind of the same thing. If you're going to hire John Fassel or any of these guys that are kind of nuts from a special team standpoint, you're not hiring them to do the crazy stuff. You're just hiring them to think like the other crazy people. Right?
Totally.
So put yourself in the mind of a maniac, because you don't want some of this stuff is too crazy. Like if you watch the Cowboys as much as you and I everybody watches the Cowboys, but we've seen the Cowboys and the Niners playing big games, and the Cowboys have disadvantaged themselves on special teams against the Niners.
With a great kicker.
Despite the fact that their metrics are always better than the Niners from a special teams perspective. So that would be the mix. It's like, could Kyle Shanahan bring him in and find the right amount of rope to help him make the team better, but not so much rope that he, starts to do stuff that pisses Kyle Shanahan off because he's wasting offensive possessions.
I love that combination. I think you said it beautifully. I love the combination of bring all the crazy in that Bones Fassel, or if you hire somebody from the Lions and Jet Modkins potentially would bring, and then mute it a little bit if you're Shanahan. Like, I think Shanahan needs to be pushed to be more aggressive. Now, again, Kyle Shanahan's the head coach. Kyle Shanahan's in charge. If Bones Fassel gives a look on 4th and 5 at the 35, and he's thinking, hey, let's run this fake, and Kyle's like, no, I'm not feeling that, then get on the headset and say we're not going to do it. Like, call the code red or whatever. Like, put it down. Like, say we're not doing it, or the opposite of the code red, whatever.
Right, whatever it is.
But whatever it is, get on the headset and be like, we're not effing doing that if you're Kyle Shanahan. And so, but I like the fact that Kyle in game at least has to think about those kinds of situations. And I think Bones Fassel's going to make him think about it in game. Yeah. And I think a Bones Fassel's going to make him think about it during the freaking week.
That's a great point.
That there's a value to.
Yeah. Kyle doesn't need a special teams coach that's easy to manage. Because it doesn't cause him to, he doesn't have to think about it all. He needs to be put.
And then he gets out there in the game and he's like, oh shit, we suck. What the F is this?
Yeah. Throwing the tablet again. I think it's a great, I didn't like this match immediately because my initial reaction was to think about all the problems. The other thing that John Fassel has, and I do think as we talk about defensive coordinator and D'Amico and Robert Saleh, and I saw Nick Wagner of ESPN wrote a piece about, hey, Dennis Allen is a consideration and he's going to be, I do think it helps the Niners when they have a defensive coordinator who Kyle is happy to allow to serve as like head coach number 2, right? With a different personality than Shanahan. It's where Wilkes, from a personality standpoint, was not a great match. Kyle needs somebody like happy and upbeat and energetic.
Right.
Which some defensive coordinators are. Like Dennis Allen is much more stoic, more of the Wilkes vibe, I think.
Yeah. He needs a Saleh or a D'Amico. Guys that are making faces and.
Yeah, like Brad Seeley was always running around. That's where John Fassel is just like, get some different energy in the building.
What's Brad Seeley doing, by the way? Speaking of special teams
coaches. I
think
just like an expert if somebody wants to call him and ask him about special teams. Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I mean, that was a name that actually crossed my mind. I
How
didn't
old
look
is
it
Brad
up.
Seeley now?
I didn't look it up, but I thought, where's Brad Seeley right now? Is he on a, I can look it up.
Brad Seeley's 68. I mean, he's was the special teams coach for the Texans. And he must be retired. 68's not too old to be the special teams coach.
No. And yeah, no, that Coach Brad Seeley, huh. I just saw a video of Coach Brad Seeley talk special teams, and it was the Raiders like a week ago, but he's not. No, that was like 8 years ago. Never mind. So maybe somebody was watching it a week ago. Anyway, I digress.